Everybody, Ed here with the Digital Digest, and today's video is all about Microsoft's two latest tablets. I've got the Surface Pro 2 on the left and the Surface 2 on the right. So RT has been dropped. The successor we're looking at here on the right is the brand new Surface 2, built from the ground up in many ways, which I'll be going over in the course of this video. But what I want to make really clear right at the start of this video is that even though these two tablets look a lot alike, they're both manufactured by Microsoft. They both run versions of Windows 8.1. We've got Pro on the left, RT on the right. Even though the RT brand has been dropped, the operating system is still RT. That is the tablet version of Windows 8.1. And really, both of them are great devices in my opinion. Whether or not they're right for you, of course, is a matter of personal need and preference. Now, the important thing to note before I go over price points and specifications is that the tablet on the left, the Pro Series, is a full-featured computer in a tablet form factor. They both have 10.6-inch displays, but only one of them is a real computer. The tablet on the right is merely a tablet. You've got a Tegra 4 processor, not the Intel Haswell processor on the left. So you're not going to be able to run traditional desktop programs using the Surface 2, much like you couldn't with Surface RT. Now, RT was a flop, but I really think, based on my experience and what Microsoft has put together here in the brand new Surface 2, that this tablet does really have a shot at giving Microsoft some sort of market share in the tablet sector. But with that said, let's talk about specifications and price points on these two tablets and then get into who they're really for. So on the left, we've got Surface Pro 2. This is the 128 gigabyte version. It's priced at $999.99. So for $1,000, you're getting a Core i5 Haswell. It is a low voltage processor, but nonetheless still a beast in this form factor. It directly competes with pretty much every Ultrabook on the market and yet comes in at £2. You can pick up a type or touch cover for either of these tablets. They use the same ones. Tremendous improvements in this generation. You now have backlit keyboards, as well as shortcuts and gestures that did not exist on the first generation, as well as slight redesigns. The only real drawback with the Surface Pro 2, in my experience thus far, is that nothing has changed in the actual design. It's identical to the previous generation. I also think the display, which is 1080p, clear type, still a great display, much like the first generation. I don't believe that has changed either, whereas on the Surface 2, as I mentioned before, things have sort of been built from the ground up. But focusing on the Pro, the cameras have stayed the same. We still have 720p capture on the front and back, so they're identical. No upgrade there whatsoever, which is somewhat disappointing because this is an expensive premium product, and it seems to me that the update here for the Pro line really was a matter of opening up the configurations, because now if you pick up either the 64 or 128, which of course is the i5 that offers 4 gigs of RAM, you can always jump up to the i7 configuration, which comes in options of 256 or 512. The 512 is extraordinarily overpriced at $1,800. The 256 a little bit more ideal. Both of those have 8 gigs of RAM, so really the update, the refresh for Surface Pro 2 is more about multiple configurations than enhancing and improving the product in any other way, in my opinion. Of course, Haswell does improve battery life significantly. It's not the double that many of us were hoping for, but you are going to see somewhere between 6 and 8 hours of battery life, which is certainly better than the 4.5 to 5 that we were getting in the first generation. You still have a micro SD card slot, for storage expansion up to 64 gigs. That's certainly another nice touch. But it's at £2. It is a heavy tablet. This is really more of a Ultrabook that is in the form factor of a tablet, and I can't reiterate that enough for those of you who are trying to figure out whether or not it's right for you. You do get a pen with this tablet that is not going to come with the Surface 2, and that does really change the way that you can use this in a variety of applications, whether we're talking about photo editing, actual productivity, wanting to take notes. That's where this tablet can compete with something like the multitude of different tablets that offer stylus input, whether we're talking about the Note 10.1 2014 or Toshiba's Note line. The idea is the same here. This is the best digitizer experience you're going to find in a Windows package, especially in a tablet form, because we will see a lot of Bay Trail-based tablets that will be less expensive than this. They'll compete more directly with the Surface 2. Don't really want to get into that today, but the pen input on this is a great feature. I'm not going to focus on it again, but in terms of specifications, another bump up is your graphics solution here. You're getting the HD 4400 rather than the 4000. A marginal improvement, but any improvement is a good one. Is it going to allow you to take on next generation games that the 4000 couldn't handle? Absolutely not, but it is still an improvement over the 4000. So this is going to be able to basically deal with just about anything you throw at it other than hardcore video editing. Multi-threaded application sort of stuff isn't where this is going to fare well, because after all, this is a low-power i5 Haswell. The i7 will give you a little bit more capability, but again, it's a low-voltage chipset. I think the sweet spot is really here at the $1,000 price point. In fact, I wished that Microsoft offered a 8 gigabyte option for the i5 configuration. But in terms of a walk around before I move over to the less hefty and less powerful brethren, the Surface 2, just to show you again, basically you've got everything here that you could possibly want from the tablet side of Windows and of course the desktop side. And even though Surface 2 looks like it presents that, it clearly doesn't, because it can't run traditional desktop Windows applications. So that's where the line is drawn very clearly. That also makes this tablet considerably thicker. It does house a real computer, Pogo port right there for holding the pen, as well as charging. You've also got on this side the display port for video out, as well as your micro SD card slot. The speakers and ventilation are built all around the actual frame of this device. Right here is really where the speakers stem, but again, this ventilation runs all along the top of the tablet and really does quite a nice job. It doesn't get too hot. I can say that for both of these tablets. You can see we've got a microphone there at the top of the tablet, as well as our power button right there. Front-facing webcam, as well as the ambient light sensor right there at front and center top. On the left-hand side of the tablet, we've got our 3.5mm headphone jack, as well as volume rocker, USB 3.0 port. I really wish there was another port on here. I think that most users will agree at this price point. Granted, there isn't a lot of real estate in this form factor. For a 10.6-inch tablet to have a full-blown computer in 2 pounds is a great feat, and no one has matched it really. But still, I would like to see another USB port. That would be helpful. Of course, you can just throw a USB 3.0 hub on there, and that does kind of resolve things, but still, it's something to hope for on the next go-round. The kickstand, as I mentioned before, we've got the original position that it launched with, which has now been extended to go to 40 degrees, so that if you want to put it on your lap or even just get a different angle for use with the pen, it's definitely a better angle, in my opinion, for both of those situations. So a little bit more polish has gone into this tablet, no question about it. But as I mentioned before, the overall build, the actual design is exactly the same, and I really do believe they've used the same screen besides using the exact same cameras. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but as I've mentioned, it's clear this update for the Surface Pro, at least, was more about offering more options, because the Surface Pro did sell out. Keep that in mind. When this tablet computer launched, it had no problem moving off of shelves, whereas the RT flopped. So Microsoft had to really put more emphasis on the success of RT, which is now, as I mentioned, dubbed just Surface. So the Surface 2, first and foremost, biggest upgrade is that it now matches the same 1080p resolution on its 10.6-inch display, which at first I thought was going to be the same one found in the Pro. but it clearly is not. And I'll show that in some web browsing after I go over specifications here and price point. We're looking at the 32 gigabyte Wi-Fi version of this tablet. It also comes in a 64 gig capacity. I do recommend going with the 64 gig version because Windows 8.1 RT does take up quite a bit of space, even though the RT version and the 8.1 update in general was aimed at reducing the actual storage space it took up. It still is fairly large. The 32 gigabyte version does leave you, at least in my opinion, hoping for more space. So the 64 is a better option. $450 for the 32 gig, $550 for the 64. Still at the top tier of pricing for tablets, but for good reason. You're getting some of the best build quality in the entire marketplace. On the right side of the tablet, we have one of the two stereo speakers. We have micro HDMI out. We have a USB 3.0 port right there, a Pogo charging port, just like on the Pro version. I didn't show, by the way, on the Pro version, the bottom. It's the same as the Surface 2 here, which is essentially just the magnetic connecting port for the touch and type covers, which both are completely revamped. They both have backlighting now. Big improvement. In fact, yet another great reason that this generation, in my opinion, is the one where Microsoft really succeeds, not only in the Pro like they did last year, but hopefully in the RT version here in the Surface 2 tablet as well. On the left-hand side of the tablet, we have the other speaker, which of course puts together this two stereo channels for us. We then have a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, volume rocker, and then the actual pry point for the kickstand. Again, the same range of motion as the Pro. This seems like a simple thing, but it actually is pretty critical. Our micro SD card slot is right there, tucked underneath the kickstand. And overall, even though this is a £1.50, which is still relatively heavy for a tablet, the fact that it has that built-in kickstand really does balance things out, in my opinion. Because where I'd normally get fatigued, even with a lighter tablet like a Samsung-based product, or even the freshly announced £1 iPad Air, this tablet having the stand really renders weight pretty much a useless argument unless you're in an environment where clearly you must hold your tablet, can't even put it on your lap, a standing room only situation, I would say. So cameras also improved on this tablet. We're looking at 5 megapixels on the back, 3.5 on the front. These are just all design cues, changes that were made to this tablet that were left out from the Pro version. Most importantly, this entire experience is powered by a Tegra 4 processor from NVIDIA. This is of course a mobile ARM-based architecture A15 chip, and that's why this is not a full-blown computer, folks. This is not running an Intel Haswell processor. Different architecture, different platform. So while this can run applications from Microsoft's Windows Store, it is relatively limited in terms of what applications you can actually get. Facebook was just added, but things like, for example, mainstream apps like Instagram still haven't made their way here. Of course, it is likely that it will make its way here in the not-so-distant future, because it's already in the works for their Windows Phone platform. But the point here is that you can't buy into Surface 2 because of the wide breadth of applications. The fact of the matter is, when you compare a Windows offering like this with Android and iOS counterparts, even though iOS is more about actual media consumption, and you could argue Android, you have more of a blend of media consumption and productivity, Windows is really all about productivity in the tablet form, because even though there are 100,000 apps now, which is a lot more than what they had back at launch, it still leaves a lot to be desired. Now, granted, you can do a lot with this in desktop mode, which is one of the big redeeming factors of the Windows environment that you have here, because you can jump into Internet Explorer and get a full Flash experience, as I try to bring it up there. A full Flash experience, which is something you really can't get from a tablet anymore. And believe it or not, that may sound like a novel or excuse me, a novelty at this point, but it really isn't. Granted, you will have to have really the type or touch cover or use a USB or Bluetooth enabled keyboard and mouse combo to really utilize this as a computer rather than a tablet. In this situation in particular, if I had a keyboard attached, clearly it's easier than having to pull up the keyboard like I just did. But the point is, it runs extremely well. And that's what's important about this device, is that out of the box, you're getting a very polished experience, something that very few people are going to have a lot of negative things to say other than what I've mentioned about the lack of actual applications, which is a big thing. Don't in any way discount it. I'm not excusing it, but there's no question that if developers were ever going to be motivated to finally come to the table, it would be with this piece of hardware. So you've got a Tegra 4 processor, 2 gigs of RAM, Wi-Fi is dual band, BGNN connectivity. You also have Bluetooth 4.0, as I mentioned, a micro SD card slot, USB 3.0 port, micro HDMI out rather than the display port out on the Pro. Again, this all just speaks to a redesign. This is slightly less, it's 1.4 pounds rather than the 1.5 pounds that its predecessor, the Surface RT tablet, sported. Again, a big upgrade in the screen resolution, going to full 1080p. And actually, in my experience, the screen overall is better on the brand new Surface 2, the less expensive tablet that I'm holding in my hand, than on the Pro 2. So go figure. I think that has to do with the fact that we got a brand new product here, even a new color, as you may have noticed, when compared with the Surface Pro 2. So complete from the ground build up redesign here. Maybe it still looks a lot like the original, but when it comes to hardware, we're actually getting a processor that's current, unlike the Tegra 3 when it launched in the original Surface RT, which was already an old chip. It was still capable, but it had been in the marketplace quite a while. Here, the Tegra 4 really being showcased. In fact, this is one of the largely, or I should say most mass-produced tablets that the Tegra 4 is going to be inside of. And it really does perform extraordinarily well. Everything I throw at it, whether you open up Windows applications, which is why this is great for students and business professionals alike, because you have access to Excel, Word, PowerPoint, everything. You can see I'm opening them all up. And OneNote, I mean, you've got your SkyDrive for cloud experience. You get a year of Skype, which allows you to make calls to landlines. I mean, you really do have a very wide variety of desktop-like capability without having the desktop that you really do get in the Surface Pro 2 environment. I mean, everything looks the same in terms of how it actually operates. And that's what is so confusing about this. That's why they tried to abandon the RT in order to really differentiate things. I'm not sure how much it's going to help. That's why I'm sharing this lengthy video discussing this today. Of course, things still really look a lot alike. If I go into settings, we're not in the same, hold on, I have to go to the desktop to give you the like experience here, but you'll see everything looks the same. So Surface 2 really looks like a computer, even though it's not. And that's where Windows makes its true presence known in the tablet form. Of course, Office is critical. Flash browser is another great thing, because really that Flash browser does replace most of the applications, arguably, that are missing from Microsoft's application marketplace. Most people don't think in those terms. I know most people don't necessarily want to deal with that, but the truth is that you can do almost anything with Internet Explorer on a Surface 2, and it needs to be known. The same was true of RT. However, RT did not have this hardware, as I've mentioned over and over again. This is really just night and day in every shape and form. So really different products, very different price points. The least expensive Surface Pro 2 is going to run you $900, whereas $450 gets you into the Surface 2 Dynamic. Both, of course, have the Metro UI, web browsing. I just hit Skype accidentally, but thankfully I didn't actually open it. I will show you right now, just to give you a demo of what Wi-Fi is like. And by the way, the Tegra 4 is great for gaming, but again, because there's just a lack of game, or at least good games out there for the RT platform, that's where you hit a wall. So you've got a really competent mobile gaming chip there, but just nothing to use it on, really, unfortunately. There are games. Don't be completely convinced there's nothing, but when compared to Apple and Android, that's where Surface really does suffer in the gaming arena. But let me go ahead and go over to ESPN and just show you actual load times. Surface Pro almost always beats Surface 2, and it should. We've got a Haswell processor in here. The reason we get better battery life with Surface 2 is simply because we're on a mobile chip. We should be getting better battery life. Impressive, though, how close they match one another when we are dealing with the tablet end of things, considering how much beefier the Pro experience is in terms of hardware. Now, you may not be able to see it, but at least to my eyes, the panel on the brand new Surface 2 is better, in my opinion, than the exact same resolution ClearType panel on the Surface Pro 2. Now, I'm going to throw it out there that I think that's because, again, this is the exact same hardware, at least in terms of aesthetics, build, cameras, and screen from the old Surface Pro, whereas here in the Surface 2, we really have a brand new tablet. So it's just something I've noticed. Color accuracy looks better on the Surface 2 than on the Pro 2, which is disappointing. Much like the improvement of the cameras in the Surface 2 when compared with the Pro 2 is another disappointing thing. These aren't major things, but something I've noticed, and I wanted to just show you some web browsing so that you could possibly see that come through in some form or fashion. And also the web browsing does serve, again, just to show you Wi-Fi performance. Of course, I'm nowhere near my router. And pinch to zoom, completely responsive on both of these tablets. You're not going to find any kind of problem. And that's because out of the box, they're both really rock solid, both in terms of build quality, performance. They do what they promise to do, and that's what's good about both of these. But they're both really expensive, and that's why comparisons will be drawn, and people will be unsure about which of these to buy. They'll figure if they're going to spend as much as $450 or $550 plus tax on the RT version, of course, no longer RT, but Surface 2, why not go the distance and get the Pro? I understand that argument, but I could also see a lot of users that really don't need the full computer capability, really just need the web browsing, Office suite, video out, video conferencing, Skype, and really a great tablet with solid battery life, which the Surface 2 isn't going to get you the 10 hours that Microsoft assures in marketing, but it'll be somewhere around 8 to 9, depending on how hard you press it, which is certainly more than you're going to get with Haswell, even though Haswell's a great improvement over last gen. So really it comes down to, do you need the full computer? Do you need the stylus input? Because you are definitely paying for it with the Surface Pro 2. Even with the original Surface Pro, of course, you were as well. In my opinion, the brand new Surface 2 is a great upgrade to the original RT, which was a flop. And as I've said over and over again, it's clear that Microsoft made a concerted effort to really make this product a winner simply because of the failure that the original one represented. And I don't blame them. This is something where, again, the Pro easily sold out, and the Surface RT, on the other hand, really could not get off the shelf. And you can see right there the profiles, very similar. However, 1.5 pounds again in the Surface 2, 2 pounds in the Pro 2. So a big difference. You're really not going to find yourself using either of these, as I mentioned earlier, for very long, prolonged periods in your hands. That's why they have to have kickstands. But build quality, superb. They destroy everything on the market when it comes to build quality and design, in my opinion. But design is going to be a matter of personal preference, clearly. Again, I want to just show you the actual profiles side by side so you can see the actual difference in thickness, because it is considerable. And even though they look a lot alike, they have the same sort of slate design, they aren't really that much alike despite appearances. And that applies to software and hardware, as I've demonstrated through the course of this video, I would hope at least. So really different products, even though they look alike, both well made, both expensive. It's really a matter of what you need. And I think both of them are solid. Of course, they're going to go down in price with time, but as far as things stand right now, there's no question if you need a tablet that offers you the Windows experience, Surface 2 seems to have finally got it right with the Windows 8.1 update, in my opinion. You know, you've got that added ability now to have quick access to all of your apps. This exists in both environments, even though right there when I tried to trigger it, it didn't come up. And this is, again, Microsoft creating that ecosystem that really didn't exist last year. And that's part of what needs to be there in order to have both of these really succeed. Again, the Pro, nothing to compare it against. That's why it's in a class of its own. Microsoft doesn't really have to reinvent anything here. But with the Surface 2, the RT, formerly RT, they did have to reinvent to a degree, and that's why software was so critical. And hopefully, as they do develop a larger library of applications, this tablet will really come into its own, because with regard to hardware specifications, it is a beast. There's no question. Much like the Pro, that isn't a problem this time around. A lot of people did not want the last generation of the RT, not only because of the screen resolution, but also because of the Tegra 3 processor, again, being an aged piece of hardware. But overall, both of these great products, clearly very different in terms of demographic, but one thing in common: you definitely are going to enjoy these if you're a Windows user. This is the only tablet in the market that's going to give you that Windows experience of having the desktop there, everything you're familiar with in Office, and the same applies to the Pro. This is the only tablet in the market that's going to give you a true piece of reference hardware from Microsoft, the largest software manufacturer in the world, really built to specification from the ground up. In my opinion, this is, a concept device come to reality that now has a wide array of configurations to appease the exact market that would actually overspend to buy this instead of getting something like a Yoga 2 or any other ultra portable offering on the market that could do similar things but can't match this form factor. Overall, if it's not clear already, I like both of these products. Kudos to Microsoft, and I wish them all the best, because I want to see more things like this down the road in the future. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to post them. And of course, as usual, please feel free to subscribe. Later.